Back live tonight, you're in focus. A nationwide bus strike is looming after wage negotiations between unions and companies like PADCO, AGOA, and the Great North Transport deadlocked. The National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa says that their members want improved primary health care allowances as well as a 10% salary increase. Numsa spokesperson Phakamile Hlubi-Majola joins us now for more on that. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. I suppose this means that the previous arrangement has now expired.
Good evening, Thabo, and good evening to your viewers. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. Yes, so basically we are in the midst of renegotiating a new wage agreement. This wage agreement is going to expire at the end of March. So we really are trying to do our utmost to try and find one another before that wage agreement lapses at the end of March.
So you're coming in early. It lapses at the end of March. I mean, it's early relatively speaking because March is just a couple of days away. But is there a sense from you that the employer is coming on board? Are they meeting you halfway? Are they budging on any of the requirements at this particular point? For example, let's start with the 10%.
So we did start early. We submitted our demands in December of 2023 because we really did not want to have any delays in this process. And the demands that we have put on the table, we've got three really big demands, what we would call the core demands. The one demand is the demand for primary health care, which basically means a medical aid or medical insurance cover for workers in the bus passenger sector. This has never happened before, and it's been a demand since 2019. The second demand is a demand for a 10% across-the-board wage increase. And the third demand is the demand for an increase for the allowance of the double driver from 450 Rand to 900 Rand. If you recall, Thabo, the double driver is the second driver who accompanies the main driver on a long-distance trip. So, for example, if a driver is driving to Cape Town, there'll be a second driver on board. Now, currently, for your trip traveling down, you only receive an allowance of 450 Rand. And we're saying that allowance must go up to 900 Rand because you're working. You're not just, hanging around on a bus. You're actually working, even though you're not behind the wheel. So those are the three core demands. Unfortunately, where we are right now, though, we are deadlocked. We had allocated 5 days to the first round of negotiations. That was from the 5th of February to the 8th of February. And unfortunately, by the end of that section or that segment, we realized that we were very far from each other because even though I've outlined for you what our demands are, the employer is only willing to put a 4% increase on the table, and that increase is conditional on unions dropping all other demands. So that for us is really a major setback because it shows us that the employer is not taking some of the issues that we've raised around the core demands seriously, and we are now at the point where we have registered a dispute because we have deadlock on these issues. Yeah.
Why have you refused to extend the first round of wage talks? Because I believe that's what they tried to persuade you on.
Could you repeat that?
I'm saying I believe they tried to persuade you to extend the first round of wage talks, but you have rejected that proposal. Why?
Yes, because we started early. We deliberately made sure that they were aware of what our demands were from last year. And we've motivated the reasons for why we feel that these increases are irrational and affordable and justifiable. And we did that in January. So we were shocked when we are engaging formally under the auspices of the bargaining council, when the employers tell us that they need more time, they need to get a mandate. I mean, how do you arrive at negotiations without a mandate? So that just tells you that it's as if they're not taking this process seriously. It's as if they want to try and delay unnecessarily, and we're not prepared to delay. We need to settle this round of negotiations, and we need to do so soon. March is around the corner, and the agreement is going to expire. And our members were adamant that we need to make real progress in the 5 days that we were allocated.
So you're taking some drastic steps. Tomorrow on Valentine's Day, you'll be meeting with the shop stewards. What will you be discussing?
Well, we will be basically, bringing them up to speed in terms of where we are in the negotiations, and also requesting them to give us guidance in terms of, where to go from here. Because at this stage, we are now waiting for conciliation, and we do hope that during this conciliation process that the employers will actually bring a meaningful offer on the table. We also want to get a mandate from members about basically how far we can go. So, for example, what would be sort of, the line in terms of the what would be non-negotiable, or how far we can push it before we have to resort to strike action. We really hope we don't have to resort to strike action because, as you know, workers really do suffer during a strike, and so do commuters. I mean, this is a sector which covers hundreds of bus companies which transport millions of workers across the country. So we really would not want to have to resort to strike action.
Yeah.
But we do hope that the employers have taken the message that we sent to them, which is, our decision to register a dispute seriously. And we hope that they will use the time of conciliation to come back to the table with a meaningful offer.
Especially since, of course, we've got a big holiday coming up right at the end of March. Is this almost also an early warning shot to commuters to say, well, maybe don't be surprised if we get too much and you'll find that we are calling a nationwide strike?
It's not unusual for us to embark on a national strike during the Easter long weekend, and we don't want to be forced into a corner where we have to do that. We know that this holiday is one of great meaning to the majority of workers in this country. Even our own members like to travel by bus to go home on that weekend, and we would not want to disrupt that. However, we really think that the employers should not put us into a corner where we're forced to resort to such measures. It's completely unacceptable that the only thing they could put on the table in response to our comprehensive, reasonable demand was a 4% increase and nothing more. We think they can do much better, and we are calling on them to do just that. I mean, you've got to remember, Thabo, that these companies, whatever happens, whether they have full buses, whether their buses are not full, if you recall, under COVID, they get paid their subsidies. They get paid their subsidies regardless of how they perform in terms of their profits. Now, the question is, who subsidizes workers? The reason we have advanced the demands we've advanced is that the cost of living for our members is extremely high. And we really need bus companies to give back to employees when they get so much already from the state. And we don't think it's allowed to us, particularly when you look at the demand for medical aid, which has been a burning issue since 2019. And we think that the employers in the bus passenger sector have frankly just been trying to avoid this issue. Every single time we have negotiations, they try and, sort of defer it to the following year or to other negotiations. This is something that we really want to settle in this round of negotiations.
Phakamile Hlubi-Majola, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on.